We're live.
We're live. Hello, Mission Lakes. Welcome to our live feed of our Board of Directors meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 1:30, and I would like for us to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And thank you to all the members that are on the Facebook feed today to watch the board meeting. We've got a lot of stuff coming up that I know is of interest to the membership, and we'll get through this as quickly as we can and as much detail as we can. With that being said, Trish, would you start off with the approval of our board meeting?
Yes, I move to approve the board minutes of May 30th, 2020, executive session meeting minutes dated May 19th, May 26th, and May 28th. We do not have a May 30th. She copied the wrong one.
Okay. We have a
May
second.
30th. Second?
Second.
Is there any comments or discussion necessary on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, Trish, thank you. Next, we have our member comments, and you passed on the two that we have right now?
Yes.
Okay. And I will read these. The first one is from Cheryl Brulin. Cheryl, thank you. Cheryl has said, please vote and wait on hole number 15. Now is not the time to spend $250,000. We need to conserve our money. Thanks, Cheryl Brolin. And Cheryl, we will be discussing this measure a little later on under our RFCAs, and we will be looking at this in detail. The next member comment I have is from Ann Fragala. And Ann says, regarding the renovations to hole number 15 and the orange tees, I believe any unnecessary expenditure should be tabled at this time. There is nothing wrong with hole 15, and if some guys can't get there from their tee box, they should play it from a closer one. As far as the orange tees goes, I play from them, and although they are not ideal, they are more than adequate. Many people's investments have taken a hit right now, and unnecessary spending should be curtailed. Okay, thank you very much for that. The second comment that Ann was going to make was in regards to a supposed vote on the clubhouse renovation. And there is nothing that's going to happen on the clubhouse renovation. It's not on our agenda. It's not even in our immediate future. So I'm not going to read the rest of this because there's nothing going on about that. Is there any other comments?
No, that's
it?
all.
Okay. Then I guess next on our...
Well, excuse me, Richard Creed will be commenting under the Green Committee.
Yes. One under the Finance Committee, we're
Finance
talking about our
Committee.
FCAs.
Yes, that's the chairperson. He will be coming in at that time. Then we'll move on to the manager's report. Brian, what do you have for us today?
Oh, thank you. I want to thank all our owners that have taken the time to watch the live stream today. The county has not changed its gathering limitations, which constricts the club's ability to host open meetings for our owners. The video from today's meeting will be posted to our MLCC website early next week. The high points in May are as follows and can be found in your May finance packet. Page 7 of our finance packet shows bad debt 120 plus days, the aging report. May 2020, we're at 37.6%. Last year, same month, 48.7%. The percentage reduction of 11.1% in the 120-day aging category equates to hard dollar amounts of in 2019 it was $451,000 versus 2020, which is $297,000 of bad debt in that aging category. Increased collection efforts in the form of show cause hearings at 60 days are significantly reducing the number of accounts that move into this bad debt aging class. Page 8, our collection totals by debt collection areas. We have our law firm collected $34,000. In-house collections by our AR department and accounting team equals $34,000. Positive work for the month in the collection departments. Page 16, consolidated income statement. Revenue forecast for 2020 through May, we are $242,000 behind budget for revenue forecast. Expenses are better than forecast by $430,000, which equals a positive variance to the budget of $187,804. Key factors driving these savings are wages, supplies, and departmental labor scheduling models. COVID-19 has reduced our ability to generate income, but a strong effort in expense savings is helping our club fight through to a positive result through May. The June weekly flash reports show great promise in revenue generation. Golf is generating income again in the form of member guest fees, guest shop sales, and club repair. F&B, specifically the bar opening, is helping chase down the monthly deficit in revenue for this operating unit. We continue to mirror best practice county guidelines and seize the opportunities for revenues that comport to the safe opening guidelines provided by the County of Riverside. An evaluation of where the club stands through May, paired with the weekly flash reports that build the June financials, the club is in a strong position and prevailing against COVID-19 and the loss of forecasted revenues. Moving on to some of the guidelines that we just saw came out from the county, the COVID-19 renewed guidelines. The club is following the county lead, and face covering is needed when using the indoor portions of the club. The bar has opened, the inn is open, the gym is open, members can bring guests to play golf, and in July we will move to consider outside golfers back to MLCC, unaccompanied guests. As we move forward, we will maintain a safety-first mindset to protect our owners and their guests. Food and beverage highlights coming for July. The refreshment car will run Friday through Sunday, 7 to 12. The bar and lounge is open 10 a.m. Reservations are not necessary before 3 p.m. Restaurant is open for dinner and appetizers from 3 to 8. Please make reservations if you are using the facility on those times between 3 and 8. July 4th, we have some special menu items. I know we've already released what's going out of the sand wedge, but Romo and his team have come up with a tomahawk ribeye, a colossal shrimp choice, and a stuffed pork chop for the 4th of July. We also have invited Barry Minifield, who finished 9th on The Voice. He'll be here for entertainment on the 4th of July from 3 to 8 p.m. We look forward to seeing you at the club, and please call for reservations after 3, as seating is still limited with the COVID-19 guidelines. Summer is here. Enjoy your club and all the first-class amenities that are available to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. That $187,000 positive variance is a really good one. Okay, on to number 4, committee reports. Tom, well, you're over there today.
Yeah,
you're up first.
Over
You
here
fooled
now.
me.
The ACC, there's not a lot going on. What they did do was write a resolution for the board to consider. And I would like to read it. It says, since Mission Lakes Country Club membership has revised its CC&Rs and bylaws, therefore clearly prohibiting the use of vinyl instead of simply plastic, and any property border fencing, the ACC recommends that the board require all such vinyl fencing to be removed by no later than the time of the transfer or the resale of any property with border vinyl fencing installed by the original guarantee of a variance for such installation. The replacements of any of the removed vinyl fencing must also comply with the 2020 revised CC&R permitted fencing materials, section 6.6.5 of the revised CC&Rs. Walls should be constructed with masonry, ornamental iron, or stucco permitted materials. Except for permitted materials, chain link, wood, plastic, and/or vinyl fences are expressly prohibited. Gates shall be made of wood or ornamental iron. Chain link gates are prohibited. The ACC requests consideration of this recommendation motion in order to clarify the prohibition of vinyl as a fencing material unless until the CC&Rs are amended regarding fencing material. So, that being said, I would like to make a motion that the board considers this resolution and we work on it and vote on it next month.
Okay, let's see if we have a second for this before we can go into discussion.
I'll second it.
All right. Now we can open up for discussion.
You want to put it on the agenda for next month?
Yes, I think the board, we should get together and talk about it and see if we want to go ahead with this resolution.
Well, I
This is
don't think we
an
need
agenda
I don't think it needs a motion to put something on the agenda for next month. I mean, you could just put that on the agenda for next month as a board member and the liaison to the ACC.
If you want
What
to
are
make
we
a motion
voting on?
for us to consider that resolution, that's different.
I thought
We needed a second to be able to talk about this thing, Nori. That's where we're at, is just discussing it and the merits of it and what we're gonna do with it, because you're gonna be doing, the ACC stuff's gonna be worked on in the next couple of months.
Right.
That too, so, but I would agree with Rick and Ray, if we can stick it on the agenda for July,
Correct, okay.
and you can, now that we have that, all of us are in receipt of that suggested amendment, and we can research and talk about it, and then do something with it at our July meeting.
Right, maybe that's not what I said, but that's what I meant.
Okay, that's cool. All right,
So
So-
are we voting on this or not?
Yeah.
That's what my
No,
you
confusion
don't
is.
need it.
want it on next month's agenda.
we don't need to vote on
Yeah,
it.
you don't need a
No,
motion.
there's no vote required.
All right.
Counter report, we don't have one. Declaration, we don't have one. And that brings us down to the Finance Committee, Mr. Doyle.
Okay, first I would move that we approve all checks over $1,000 from operations and reserve accounts for May 2020.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion necessary? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'd move that we approve the finance and credit reports for May 2020.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion required? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, I'd move that we consider 2 RFCAs from the golf course maintenance from the Greens Committee regarding the golf course. Richard Krieb is here as the chairman of the Greens Committee to make a statement to the board regarding these 2 RFCAs.
Okay,
So Richard?
Richard, go ahead.
Thank you.
You're up.
Thank you. I originally wrote a memo to everyone, and did everyone get the
Is that the same memo?
Yeah, we got our list.
statistical thing and the memo? Okay, good. Well, I'm gonna read the memo anyway, since you've all read this.
Hold on, Rich, one thing. Is that the memo that you sent us the other day?
Yes.
Okay, the stuff you're quoting out of there is on the old bylaws, not the new bylaws.
Uh-huh.
So it's some of the information, if you read from that verbatim, you'll be incorrect.
Oh.
So I would
Not
just-
that much.
I would just tell, why.
Well, I'll qualify this by saying this is the old bylaws. The consensus of what Rick is talking about is Article 12 of the bylaws, stating that the Green Committee shall make recommendations for the management and control of the golf course grounds and equipment, and shall be responsible to the board for inspection, maintenance, upkeep, and improvements of the same. Every year through the 5-year plan, and the Green Committee is required to make recommendations for repairs, improvements, and replacement to Mission Lake Country Club Golf Course. The Green Committee takes this responsibility very seriously and due diligence to find consensus within the group. This long-standing committee practice leaves no room for hidden agendas. Now, that might not be verbatim what the bylaws say, but in the spirit of what I'm saying, I'm sure is still true. About 5 years ago, the Mission Lakes Country Club approved the implementation of a master plan to upgrade, modernize, and repair our golf course, what's referred to as our hidden gem of the desert. The attached chart that I handed out shows that in the past 2.5 years, no budget-approved project related to the master plan has been approved for funding by the board. Withholding these funds and not funding these projects, there is an advantage. It does cause the reserve to increase and accumulate. Subsequently, the reserve funds available increases over the years, and that's indicated by the lower portion of the chart that I gave you, showing that every year our reserve funds have increased since 2015, to a point now that our current funds are $2,502,406. In essence, these approved unspent project funds are feeding the reserve, and that's a good thing. However, projects aren't getting approved. It is important to note that funding projects like the one I'm submitting for the Green Committee today, those that the funds for that is unrelated to operating funds or the operating budget. The projects are solely funded from reserve funds, which we currently have $2,500,000. Every year, the board approves a 5-year plan as part of the budget process. Over the past 2.5 years, when it comes to funding the Green Committee Master Plan projects, the vote has been no. And that's also indicated in the graph that I showed you, showing what the Green Committee approval, project approval has been over the past 5 years in dollar amounts, and what the actual approved funds for budgets was approved for that year. For example, in 2018, the budget was approved for $388,000. Actually, that was for hole number 11 and 14 and 12 T area only for work to be done, and the board did not approve that. The actual approval was for that year was only $48,000 for Desert Scape. In the budget of 2019, the budget was approved by the board for the Green Committee to have projects approved for $416,000. They only approved $83,000 for Cart Pass, and that was projects where we were going to redo 9 greens, the back 9 greens. That was part of that project, and that was declined. Phase 2, which was funded in 2017, but the driving range in hole 17 was the last golf course master plan improvement funding to be approved. That was 2017. And it seems fair to ask, is the golf course master plan dead? The Green Committee has a good history of managing projects, delivering a product, seen as being shaped by good practices and always coming in under budget. The 2 projects today represent the strongest priority of changes requested and needed by the Mission Lakes members. A survey previously done by the board indicated that near unanimously the need to convert number 15 to a men's par 4, and the orange T data proves that Play It Forward golfing has led to a greater increased interest in senior play. Please understand the urgency of this vote today. Due to the contractor schedule, the course downtime, and the weather, meaning that seeding and planting can only be done at a certain time, the board approval for RFCA 2024 and RFCA 2020-25 is needed this month, or else these projects will be terminated again for another year. And there might be some objections here, and I wanted to clarify some before we go on. One of them might be, can't we just postpone this and let the next board deal with it? So let's not forget one thing, and that is that this project comes from the Green Committee that you created, not the next board. This also is part of the funds that you approved in the annual budget. So this isn't the budget for the next board. This is yours. This project will be terminated for another year if not approved this month. This sounds like a lot of money, I guess someone could say. I could do it for less or build it for less, but let's not forget our bidding process ensures the best possible value and price for the work to be done. And it might be said that I think other course improvements are more important. Well, think that, if you may, but your Green Committee has surveyed, inquired, and consulted with experts. Without a doubt, we have absolute consensus that the majority of the club members want green tees and 15 to be a par 4. And let's face it, we've already purchased the turf for the conversion for the 15 to a par 4. The other is we can't afford it right now. Well, every year we keep postponing projects, and this, if you turn it down, that'll be 3 years in a row. We have for that every time you turn it down, of course, that means eventually when it's to be done, the price is going to be a lot higher. Price goes up every year. The Green Committee has spent 1 year working on this project. It has provided surveys, design testing, bids from 4 different contractors, and redesigns to cut cost. There is board history kicking the Green Committee project can down the road for the past 2 years. Please don't make it number 3. The Green Committee urges a yes vote for these 2 vetted projects. Please keep our largest club asset as great as it can be. Richard Krieb, Acting Chair of the Green Committee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Richard.
it. And we're obviously going to be discussing it, so thank you.
And that's all we ask of you. Please give it real consideration and know that if you do decline it, it's another, it'll be another year before anything can be done on this. It's not like we can put it off for another month or 2 or 3. Okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay, with that, you've all heard Mr. Krieb's presentation, so I'm going to defer back to Michael for his completion of the RFCA request.
Yes, I move on the first one that we consider RFCA 2020-25 from the reserve an amount of $80,000 to complete the Orange Tee Box
Excuse
project.
me, what happened to
55.
24?
24 is first.
Oh, you want to do that first? Okay. I move that we consider 2020-24 from golf course maintenance and from the reserve in the amount of $255,035 not to exceed for the whole 15 renovation to convert it from a par 3 to a par 4 for the men's tee boxes. The selected vendor was Earth Sculptures.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Tom?
I move that we postpone this motion for 90 days.
I'll second it.
Hold on a second. We have a motion, okay? What I'm going to say here is that Tom has a right to interrupt our motion that we first made by Robert's Rules of Law, referring to section 17 on page 209. So you made the motion to, again, was
To
postpone
postpone
it?
that motion for 90 days.
90 days. Now,
Tom seconded it.
we have a second, so now we're going to have discussion on that.
Discussion on the postponement.
On the postponement, because we have the first, and we have a motion and a second, so we have to discuss it. And if we vote and we say, no, we're not going to discuss it, we're going to go back to the original motion that Mike made, then we go back to that. But Rick, if you'd like to comment on Tom's motion, I'd like to hear that,
If we postpone it 90 days, that takes us to the 1st of October, can't be done this
which
year.
is too late, can't be done. Mr. Spence, do you wish to comment further?
First of all, I'd like to thank the Greens Committee for their work. They have worked hard and they have come up with projects. But the reserve fund is a good thing to be $2.5 million ahead. We're fortunate today to be there. And one of the main reasons we're there today is because we postponed some of the improvements that the Green Committee has recommended. Richard has said that there's been some projects that the Greens Committee has done that's been well. Well, let me look at the batting cage. Let me look at the pure distinction grass, on hole number 15, we're not putting pure distinction in. Why not? We're not putting pure distinction in because our greenskeeper says that the T1 is the best grass in the valley here at Mission Lakes, right? So we have 3 holes or 3 greens with pure distinction. Another area, I want you to look at the chipping area. The chipping area is not flat. We have some hills in that. And I would have thought that the chipping area could have been done better. Those are just 3 things that come to my mind. Also, the Greens Committee postponed about 3 years ago purchasing maintenance equipment. And then we had a big issue because I went down to the maintenance yard and only one machinery was working. Because we had that money in reserve, we were able to purchase about $500,000 of new equipment. Also, we just approved recently about $400,000 in equipment. Having money in reserve is good, and I would like to postpone it till this COVID-19 is over so we know where we are. Today, I don't know where we are financially with the COVID, and it's a good thing to have this money in reserve.
Okay, anything else, Tom?
That's it.
Thank you. Ray?
Well, I'm just going to speak to Tom's motion of postponing. I don't think we should, I mean, if we're postponing it for 3 months, we might as well just vote on it right now, because we can't come back in 3 months and vote on this, because this is this contract's not going to be valid and I'm not going to be able to get it. So we might as well vote on it today and decide what we want to do.
Trish?
I'd like to hear what Mike says first, and then my problem with this whole thing is spending money when we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know whether our snowbirds are going to come back. We don't know whether we're going to have to close the restaurant again and subsidize our employee pay. There are a lot of unknowns, and so I have questions about that. I also question, and I guess Mike can answer this, I'm amazed that we had bids for hole number 15 and probably the orange tee boxes that were $500,000, $600,000, and all of a sudden we're down to $250,000. What did we give away that we're not going to get? That normally, if we spent $600,000, something that our members would approve of. So if Mike can answer that question of what we're not getting from those
We
other
will.
bids.
He will. He's going to come up next to last. But Tom, comments, please.
Well, it's obvious I made the motion to postpone it because I don't think we should be spending down our reserves because we don't know what's going on with this virus. If you read the newspapers, Palm Springs is canceling all their projects, and I'm sure a lot of clubs are canceling projects because they just don't know what's going to happen. This 90 days gives us time to relook at it, and I'm sure that if people really wanted to, they could renegotiate a contract. I mean, put your thinking caps on, figure out how to make it happen if it gets okayed in 90 days.
Anything else?
No.
Michael?
First, the questions on the bid process. The architect that we had design the course designed it like he was building a hole at Augusta National. He included reshaping the entire fairway, taking all the grass out and resodding the entire fairway. Huge expenses involved with that. We went back and asked him to, try and trim that down, and he came back with some numbers that were a little bit lower. And then the Greens Committee and Brian and myself went to one of the contractors that's done a lot of the work here, said, you're familiar with how we build stuff at Mission Lakes Country Club. We don't want to build a hole like Augusta National. We want to build a hole to the standards that Mission Lakes has always worked at. And in making that change to the Mission Lakes standard rather than an Augusta National standard, we were again able to carve out several $100,000. The hole, when it was completed, would be, I think, a complete and professionally designed hole that would meet the needs of the members. So what we were cutting out was reshaping the entire fairway and putting in 2 acres of sod and everything. That was huge cost expense with that. So that was the main reason we were able to control the expense on it.
What about the green complex?
Green complex was no major changes. I think we were, reshaping some of the bunkers, as I describe it, to make it better, and then curtailing the green a little, according to the original plan, curtailing the right side of the green to make that a collection area rather than a green area. But the green would remain pretty much as designed.
So the tee box will go left of where the temporary tee box is
Yes.
right now. The runway tee box that's there now will be shaved down and earth moved or whatever to make it all work
Yeah.
out. Any trees going to be removed?
There's one tree that would be moved that when the orange and green tees are repositioned to the left side of the fairway, there's one big pine tree that has to be relocated because it's right in the line of sight for play from that hole. So the plan was to take that pine tree, and there's a machine they use to dig it up, and then replant it down by the driving range in the restroom area. So we would save the tree and just be relocated. So.
Wait, hold on. He still hasn't answered what he feels about Tom's motion.
I think that I don't disagree with anything everybody says. I mean, part of me says at some point we need to be a beacon of hope rather than worrying about everything. But I think that all the points everybody's made about the CV-19 issues and potential financial disaster that may or may not come are probably valid. We're lucky in that our financial results show that the members are actually paying at a better rate than they were prior to the issue of CV-19. So the members have responded and are doing everything to support the club. I think a big unknown is whether all the travel bans will be lifted by next fall. If we still have travel bans, right now you can't get back and forth between Canada and the US. So if that's still in place in October, it's going to impact what's happening with the club. So with all of that being said, I mean, I'd like to change the motion to just say that we table these 2 RFCAs until reconsider them in the future when we have greater clarity on what's happening with the financial situation at the club and the I guess impact of CV-19 on club operations. I'd like to change it to move that we table them.
Okay, hold on just a second, because we got too many motions going on, we gotta go back to this. And I ordinarily would not offer an opinion because I've never had to vote since we've had this board in place. But I'm gonna offer an opinion today because I feel strongly about where we're at with what's going on. And, I think like most people in this room, under ordinary circumstances, we'd like to see some of this golf course renovation projects done. But I agree with everyone else here that 2 months ago, as a board, we pretty much unanimously said we're not moving forward with any other projects until we get through this coronavirus COVID-19 situation where we know what our financial future will be. We just simply don't know. And right now, as Michael said, we're very healthy. We're getting dudes coming in the door. But what would happen if we get shut down again? We shut down the bars, the restaurants, the businesses in the state. People lose their jobs again. Maybe the second time around, our membership can't pay. And then we have to resort to using our reserves to help fund this operation to keep us going until some point in time things open up again. So I personally would because if we table it, as Rick has said, goes into October, we're not doing this project this year. It's done. We do have to answer his motion because it really comes down to simply saying no. But because his motion is on the table first, if there's no other discussion, then we can vote on that 90 days.
And his says postpone the motion for 90 days, which I think is better than tabling, because anything could happen. I mean, we just don't know. And I agree with Tom Stalker that if the contractor wants the job, he can do the job. You have all the specs, you have all the stuff, you know, so.
Okay.
Well, I think we need to deal with this properly. Mike made a motion, a friendly motion to amend your motion originally. You probably will say, no, you don't want that, and that can eliminate that, and then we can go on and vote on the motion. So do you
No,
take
I
that as a
don't.
friendly
Hold on.
amendment?
No, I don't
Hold
want
on a
that.
second.
There you go.
If, we can do this two ways. If we vote no to his motion to table it for 90 days, then we can go back to reviewing it to an outright no vote.
Yep.
That's another option for us, or a yes vote as the case may be.
Well,
Or
that-
we can go with Tom's motion, because we have a second and we've had discussion, to table it for 90 days. So let's go around individually and take that vote. Rick?
I have one question, and any of you, feel free to answer. So what, COVID-19? So what? How has it affected us thus far in any negative way? Right? I mean, we've had some of our employees have been impacted by it, but how has it affected any member other than the fact that they couldn't go up to the bar or the restaurant?
It hasn't affected us
It hasn't affected us
now.
financially whatsoever.
Well,
It
it hasn't
affected
affected
mine.
us, but it's very likely that it's affected some of our people out there. And I think, Trish is spot on with, her idea of wondering how that's going to how we're going to handle the Canadians coming back and the travel bans being lifted. These things, have a
Those
tendency to.
Canadians will still own properties here, and they'll still be paying their dues.
Yeah, we hope they will. I
Yeah.
mean, we kind of count on them to do that. But I think there are some unknowns there. But your general idea is right. It hasn't affected this club financially, although it probably has affected some of our members out there
Sure.
that we haven't quite seen yet. They've gotten mortgage passes, rent passes, they've gotten whatever, they've gotten money from the government. They've been able to hang on for a while. So maybe in the future, we're going to see, a dip in some of those collections of our monthly dues. It's possible. Those
Yeah.
things are, that's not crazy to talk about.
I understand what you're saying. My point is, okay, so if we put this off until 2021. Oh, the great drought of 2021. Well, we got a drought, guys, so maybe we shouldn't do it this year. And then they try, there's been a lot of earthquake stuff going on. So, well, I got to postpone it again because there's an earthquake coming. We just know, and we don't know what's going to happen. Every year, there's things that we don't know what's going to happen down the road. If we were that prescient, we wouldn't be here, right? I mean, I'm just saying that I don't see COVID as an issue. Others do, but I mean, that's, a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, you're right. There is always something else out there. I think this may be a little bit more than I normally hear.
Yeah, it's
this year.
definitely that. It's affected,
But
a lot of businesses.
your point is well taken. There's always something.
But moving on with this, so we have Tom's motion on the table. It has a
So
second.
has
We've had
Mike
discussion.
withdrawn his?
I don't think so.
No, I think it's
It
superseded.
died because he did not accept it as a friendly amendment to his motion.
But what we can, listen to me, what we can do is, if we vote not to have Tom's, then it reverts back to the original motion by Mike, and we can vote a yes or no, a table, or whatever we want to do. Tom's motion dictates to us that we vote on a 90-day suspension or a postponement. So, my question is going to be to each of you, as we go around the room, how do you vote on Tom's motion?
Can I ask one more question
Yeah,
before we
you
move to that?
can.
And I don't disagree with your thing, Tom. I worry about having blanket things like this because like one of the other things we have percolating towards the front is at some point pretty soon we're going to be getting the details on completing the ADA bathrooms and stuff like that. And when that comes forward, is that a blanket denial because we've held everything? Or should it be that we're postponing these because we all agree that we need to postpone them? But kind of agree that as other projects come forward, as they probably will, we should consider them on a one-off basis so that if the ADA thing comes up, which is something that we're required to do by law, it should be considered as a freestanding item, not we voted to not do anything for the next some period of time. So which is kind of independent of your motion, because I agree with you, Tom.
Well, it would be
But I
the
think
same
that-
thing. I mean, if all the homework's done and all the bidding is in for the ADA bathrooms, it's gonna come before the board and we'll be facing the exact same questions.
Okay, so we'll come up on a one-off basis.
That's the way I
Yeah.
would see it.
Okay, then,
This is only for this project. In fact, I
Right.
think you made the motion for only one project, or did you make them for both?
That proposal is just for that one motion of
This
the
one.
RFCA.
55.
Because-
Number 50.
yeah, okay.
I had a little bit of difficulty with some members telling me that, in the May minutes or whatever, the board said, because there was that spot in there where Tom says that, it's just a statement that we're gonna table everything until this COVID-19 crisis is over and all this, and I'm like, well, you can't do anything because, well, those are the minutes of that meeting, and that's a record of what Tom said. But it wasn't made in a proper motion that was properly seconded, written out, and then voted upon by all of us. So there's nothing binding about that sort of
No.
thing. This right here is only for the 255, I believe it's 2020-24, right?
Number,
Yes.
hole number
All right.
15.
Well, I call for the question then, let's vote on it.
Okay,
Okay.
On his motion?
his motion,
No.
no. You taking track of that, Trish?
Okay,
Tom?
His motion, if I say yes to postpone it, correct?
Yeah.
Saying yes to
I vote
postpone it for
yes on
90
his
days.
motion.
For 90 days.
Ray?
No.
Trish?
yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, the vote is 4-2 to support his motion to suspend our project on hole number 15 for 90 days.
Okay, so that's complete now?
Yes,
Okay.
that's completed, so we can
So-
move on to the
So
second one now.
Let me move to the second one then. I move
Thank
that
you.
we consider RFCA 2020-25 from golf course maintenance, not to exceed $8,000 to finish the conversion or installation of orange tee boxes. Vendor was to be Earth Sculptures.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Rick? Okay. Is there any discussion? Mr. Stocker?
I move that we postpone this motion for 90 days.
I'll second it.
Okay. We have an interruption of our motion, which he's allowed to do, as I stated earlier. And we will go around the room, follow the same procedure that we did before, is we'll open it up for comments on the orange tees for $80,000. Rick?
The May report from our head pro showed that member rounds versus May of 2019 were up 1,000 rounds. So 1,000 additional rounds versus last year for member play only. Much of that is because of the orange tees. People are playing the orange tees because they can't play from the back tees any longer. We've got, basically, our orange tees are 2 orange balls stuffed in the fairway. $80,000 is a minimal thing. If we're going to be doing this kind of let's postpone, when the next time there's an emergency purchase that we need from somebody, I'm gonna say, let's postpone it, because we can't spend money on anything. We've got $2.5 million, $80,000 is that we'll have that back in the reserves a month later. Since we get 90,000 plus every month. So I don't know what postponing an $80,000 expense for something that's gonna benefit a lot of our older golfers especially, I don't understand the point.
Mr. Spence?
I think the orange tees could be a positive thing. I understand the men's club is gonna have some tournaments with the orange tees. So my motion was to get the discussion going.
Okay, get the discussion going. Ray?
I feel like we can make a decision on this today, and I think we should discuss it and make a decision on it. It's
Well-
80,000, it's 2.5 million in that reserve. I know 80,000 to any normal, human being out there sounds like an incredible amount of money. But we're gonna make some decent tee boxes. for our older golfers who, you know, I
God
don't
bless.
want to be too brutal on them, but you know, I mean, how many more seasons, you know, do you have left to
There
play
you
those
go.
teams?
Yes,
You
you
know?
look at me.
Let's
Thank
make
you
it.
very
Let's
much.
make it at least look like a golf course out there on those orange tees. But that's, I think we can make a decision on that. I'm not afraid to make a decision today on it.
I agree, because I've been a proponent of the orange tees. I played the orange tees a lot of times. I think there are also a lot of women that do not post that are playing the orange tees because of their age, or it's some of them, the holes are just too long for us to play. So I agree, I would vote to move forward to the orange tees and get that done. I think hole number 15 benefits more men than it does women, but I think the orange tees would help, knowing even with our outside play that there are forward tees for different levels of competition.
Tom?
Well, since I made the motion, I would stick with that motion. One of the reasons is just because we agreed not to move ahead with projects. Rick was, when he said the 1,000 rounds that went through, there were very few from the orange tees, but I'm still for the orange tees. You know, I'm a golfer. I like the golf course. I would agree to changing what we have already discussed on the golf course. I just say this is not a good time to do it.
Good point. Michael?
I think I agree with Ray that we should just bring it to a vote
Okay.
right now.
All right, so what that means is the first thing that we would have to do is we have to vote. If we have a yes vote, then we have to go with his motion. If we vote no on his motion, then we move back to Michael's motion. It's be a straight up and down vote. So to his motion, a no will,
90-day suspension for 2020-25, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct.
I vote no.
okay. Mr.
I vote no.
Ray,
No.
Trish,
No.
Michael,
No.
Tom is a yes.
Yes.
Okay. The vote is 5-1 to not move forward on his motion, so this reverts back. We have a first and a second on Mike's original motion on the table, so now we can open discussion up for that to make this legal. So, Rick, let's start over with Mike's motion on the $80,000 for the orange tees.
I support the $80,000 amount for, was it RFCA 2020-25 to Earth Sculptures for the redoing or doing the orange tees properly.
I am in favor of tees forward, allowing more people to play, and the men's club is going to do some tournaments, I believe, for the older golfers. So I'm in favor of it.
Ray?
Yeah, I have nothing else to say on it other than feel the same way.
Okay. Trish?
I agree.
Michael?
I agree.
Nothing else? Tom, anything else?
Well, I don't disagree with it, but I would also hope that the Green Committee can bring forward this shed to cover our equipment, which was an $80,000 project too that we just completely dropped. We bought this nice equipment. This will be what, the third summer in a row that it sits out there uncovered?
Oh, whoa. And that new equipment was 2 years ago, so it hasn't been out there 3 years. The other part of that was, if you remember, and this is on me, that I thought we could get the solar project with the solar panels to cover that. and
Well,
that
let
went-
me finish.
that
Okay,
went by the
first,
wayside.
a solar project was gonna cover it up,
Right.
right? And then it was no. So then the Green Committee brought up and got a bid for $80,000 for the shed, and somehow verbally that got shut down.
I don't recall that.
Well, it didn't, because it never came to the board.
Okay.
Well, I
Okay.
think that next year the Green Committee will, I think all the committees next year will have items that they want to bring forward, and among which is that one, Tom, is a good one that needs to be revitalized, what to do with the yard down there.
Well, see, my question is, why are the orange tees more important than covering the equipment that we spent that much money on?
We don't have an RFCA in front of us for that today, do we?
Well, but he runs the Green Committee, so.
Okay, we're getting off track here though. All right, we have, I think, comments from everybody. So I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor of approving RFCA, put on my glasses.
2020-25.
20-25.
That's all right.
You okay, right?
We voted already.
All right, in favor.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's 5-1, motion carries, thank you. And I didn't have to vote. Okay, future planning, moving on. No report. Tom, golf committee.
We have a couple of tournaments coming up. We've got the flag tournament, July 4th. You can make your own foursome. You sign up in the pro shop for your time in that. We have another tournament coming up July 18th, the cross country. You submit your name in the pro shop and they will form the foursome for you. That's about it that I can think of right now.
Thank you. Green committee, Mike?
I expect that everybody on the Green Committee is happy that we're moving forward with the orange teas, and they'll have lots of work to do next year.
Okay. House committee, Tom, we haven't, anything?
Well, it's a short, as we've already stated, there is a hold on doing projects, the House committee's projects and doing upstairs, downstairs. There are renditions upstairs for you to look at. Come up, take a look at them. Hopefully, in the next few months, there'll be further discussions.
Okay, moving on to member communication, Trish.
No
Anything?
report.
No report. Neighborhood watch?
They do not meet in July and August, but they are looking for new volunteers for their committee.
Okay. And that brings us down to pool and rec.
Probably the first thing, everybody probably knows, we lost our committee chair, Kevin Conroy. Good guy, definitely had his heart in the pool.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I guess we'll move on, but we will miss Kevin.
Yeah.
The other, I guess the ADA bathrooms, I was hoping that you would have something on that.
Yeah, so the architect did supply where he stands, and he did send a detailed email, and I'll send it over to you. There's 80 to 90% of the pre-work is done. We're just really struggling with the landscape design of where the fire pit is and some of that stuff. So James and I have given some of that, but we need a little bit more feedback of what the fire pit and where it's going to go and stuff like that.
You do have the sketch that we handed in?
He has all that.
That Eddie made? Okay.
Yeah, but you know, the problem is, well, let's do the positive. We need to get together with Brian to look at what Brian was sent, that the architect sent to Brian. It's pretty detailed. There's a lot of things that we need to address out there. It's going to take some thought and some, I think, improved design from a sketch done on a cocktail napkin. That was the old days that we used to do that. It's
It's a little
not
bit better
working
than that,
today.
but that's okay.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about why there was an e-blast on Kevin Conroy to the home membership, which I've never seen done before?
He was a director. I mean, he was going for the election, so we had to
Yeah.
let the owners know not to vote for him.
Well, but that should have, to me, should have been put on that e-blast. It was just a member, Kevin Conroy, not, I mean, I guess people will know that he was running for the board and, you know, not to vote for him, but I think it might have been more explanation. You know, some people might say, well, why did they, you know, let him do that, so.
Yeah, there should be something about it being a board candidate.
Candidate,
Yeah.
yeah.
That would have been-
That was just my suggestion.
Maybe send it out again and.
Sure.
No, seriously, why not?
Thank you for the comment, Trish.
Before we move on, Eddie, I'd like to make one more comment as we're kind of finishing all the committee reports, and that we've got board elections coming up or ongoing right now, and we need people to volunteer for all of the committees, and I don't know how many we've had come in. The understanding I've got is we've got a very light return for people that want to volunteer the many hours that you spend on the Green Committee or the Pool Committee or the House Committee. And I would just encourage all the members that are here at the club to get active and get involved. It's your chance to participate and be part of the process on what goes on to run our club. So I'd encourage everybody to leap up and volunteer.
We've had 4.
So we've had 4 and we need about 100.
100.
We need 100 volunteers. We've had 4 people
Yeah.
so far volunteer.
We're really moving forward quickly.
Yeah.
So
Maybe you can, write out an inspiring memo to the membership.
volunteer your time.
As a
Have people
volunteer.
meet you.
It was on the e-news, and it'll be on the e-news again, and I think Brian's gonna send an e-blast
Okay.
to the committee
It
application.
could be one of our topics for future notes. Okay.
And perhaps in that e-blast, we want to make mention of the fact that committees are selected by the new board beginning, whatever date.
August
Yeah.
1st, yeah.
Okay, we have no old business on the agenda right now, so moving on to new business, we have a number of things on the agenda that we've got to deal with as official resolutions, votes, and so on and so forth. So it's going to take a little while to get through some of this. I will be brief on the 2020 elections. As everyone knows, they are underway now. We have a full candidate slate out there. And the most important thing I can suggest to the members is that you get out and vote. Previously, we haven't had everyone that gets a ballot turn in a ballot. So I recommend that you look at the candidate slate and vote for the person of your choice and get your votes in by the 25th of July at 10 a.m. in the morning. The candidate, the counting of the ballots for that will begin at 2 p.m. that afternoon on the 25th. That said, next order of business has to do with our rules and regulations. And the rules and regulations we've been working on for a while. What needs to be done at this point is that we have made some amendments to those. Our attorney has returned to us a redlined version with the amendments that we put together and that Rick did the legwork on and returned to the attorney. We have that back. These rules and regulations are being updated to conform with our CCNRs. And this is called a notice of proposed rule change, that our order of business today is to agree to post these rules and regulations for 28 days so the membership can review them and make comments back. We have a amendment, rule and regulation, and notice of proposed rule change that will be posted out there for people to see. And these rules and regulations will be on the website, correct? And for member comment. So I think to do this properly is we should have a motion to post these rules and regulations for 28 days. So if I could get a motion for that, please.
And so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, if you may, and I think that so for the members who do not understand the differences, your bylaws, your CCNRs require membership approval. The rules and regulations are for things such as what may be worn around the pool area, or what type of clothing you must wear on the golf course, how you go about making tee times, etc. These are rules and regulations that are done in-house, that do not require a membership vote or approval. And they can be changed from month to month or year to year, depending on the board and what the board suggests be done to improve any particular process that we have in place. So when you look at rules and regulations, why aren't we voting on it? It's not something that's a membership vote. It's something that each board may do as frequently as they so desire.
Thank you. That's very true. Okay. That said, we have on our fees and fine schedule. Brian, you gave me that list because we want to make a change in the fine schedule, or for the fee schedule rather, for our document fees,
Correct.
where we charge a member when there is a change in the transfer. Would you just explain that a little bit?
So, we did a valley-wide search on what it is for escrow papers and document fees, and we were sorely lagging behind. And with the expense of redoing our documents, extending the elections, it would behoove us to change that number to something that is a little bit more specific to the club and the economy. So we are changing it by $100. That's
Okay.
our recommendation.
Yeah, the new recommended fee for this doc change is $250. And so, would someone like to make a motion for this new document fee for $250?
I'd move that we change our fee schedule on the document fee to $250.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion necessary on this?
What is our current fee?
150.
150?
250 is pretty much
The standard throughout the
standard
valley?
for the valley. Kind of puts us in line with everybody else. Okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. This place looks like my office here with all this paper. My goodness sakes, you'd think that, we go electronic, but it's not quite that easy. Okay, on the agenda next for new business is a board resolution for adoption of amended compliance procedure and amended election rules. And this is not necessary for a member to have this posted for a member review. But it is important to note that we need to make a resolution as the board of directors for the adoption of the amended compliance procedures and amended election rules, which you all have received copies of, the compliance procedure and the election rules. You recall reviewing these, correct? Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to read part of this resolution just as a formal adoption of this process. This is a resolution that Trish will sign as the secretary, and it's a certificate of the secretary. And once her signature is so noted, then this takes effect on August the 1st. So, whereas the association's governing documents provide the power of directors, of the board of directors, the power and authority to create rules and regulations for the purposes of managing and controlling the affairs and business of the association. Whereas the board of directors adopted election rules in 2019 in order to comply with Senate Bill 323. Whereas in addition to the election rules, the board of directors updated its enforcement process and adopted a compliance procedure in 2019. Whereas the association recently sent a ballot measure out to its membership seeking to restate its CCNRs and bylaws. And whereas the association membership approved the restated CCNRs and restated bylaws in May of 2020. Now therefore be it resolved that the board of directors hereby adopts the amended compliance procedure effective immediately and the amended election rules effective August 1st, attached hereto as Exhibit A and Exhibit B respectively, and directs association matter to deliver notice of same to all members within 15 days of this adoption. So what I'd ask with the reading of that is that there is a motion out there to adopt this resolution. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so passed. And we are now down to the insurance coverage issue. Always fun. But this is particularly good, actually. Good news on the forefront with the insurance piece.
In that passage, did that include the election rules?
Yes, it did.
Thank you.
On Tuesday, as you know, because we had met on Tuesday, we received a quote for our package insurance, our property and liability. And I provided all of you in attendance with some of those numbers. We had received a number of quotes. Well, I shouldn't say that. We received 2 quotes, actually. The broker went out to market to about 7 or 8 other insurance carriers. Most all declined with the exception of 2. Our current carrier, which is CIG, California Insurance Group, and Arch Insurance Group. We found out day before yesterday that the CIG is not writing our coverage anymore in the state of California. So they have disbanded the writing of golf courses in this state. So it's a good thing that we had this proposal from Arch, which has the same coverages, and it is a better financial organization, is an A+15, which is the highest financial rating that you can have within the insurance industry. The renewal quote that we got on this Arch policy is $48,743, which is about $6,000 cheaper than the CIG quote that we received, which wouldn't be any good anyway.
Right.
So.
So just since Tuesday, the CIG has gone?
One day, the next day that we spoke was Wednesday, right? She came back and said
Yeah, they're not renewing.
they're not renewing any business in California. So we dodged a big bullet.
Yeah.
Like a day.
Goodness.
So as I said the other day, I would be happy to give anyone here a copy of all of the 22 pages of coverage forms if you want to see them. But the renewal quote is $48,743. The expiring was $46,622, which is a $2,000 increase over last year, but still below what the expiring carrier provided us for a quote. So
Which was 53,000?
$53,343.
Okay, so this is $5,000
$5,000.
savings, and from a company that's gonna still be in business here.
There you go.
That's useful.
So I would like to make a motion for everybody that we accept this Arch policy.
I so move.
If I could get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. And you'll get back to Teresa right away on this.
And
And we'll,
that goes into August 1 or July 1?
6:30.
6:30.
June 30.
Yeah,
You have the other one in there too, right?
I do. I have the
Management policy.
management practices. This is a little more dicey. Not from a premium standpoint. I mean, again, we dodged a major bullet with this. And I need to spend a little more time with you on this management practices policy because this covers our directors and officers coverage and also our EPLI, which is our employment practices liability. Both of these are critical for our organization because of all of the things that go on between employees and errors and omissions that could affect our board of directors. So, that being said, the quote that we have in is from our existing carrier, which is Old Republic Insurance Company. It is an A+15. Again, it's the same level of financial stability as the Arch policy is. These guys have been around a long time, and they are an admitted carrier here in California, which is better yet. What our broker told us about this management liability package is that, I'll get to the bottom line here first too, because we came in at the same quote as expiring. So it's not going to cost us a nickel more than it did last year. What she has advised, though, because of all of what's going on with the coronavirus, the COVID-19, all of the employees that have been furloughed, terminated, lost their jobs, they're going to see a big increase in the employment practices liability. And that on renewal next year, we can expect a 25 to 30% increase in the premium. So for those of you that are working on the budget process next year, please plan on taking that into consideration. Additionally, the retention number that you're going to get is going to be greater than what we have right now. When I say retention, that's like a deductible. So on our directors and officers policy, we have a $25,000 deductible, which means that if we have a claim based on our error and omission, we're going to pay the first $25,000 of that in loss. The employment practices portion of this policy is a $50,000 deductible. And our broker has advised us that both of these retention levels will go up next year, probably significantly, so that you could be looking at a $75,000 to $100,000 deductible on these policies. That's why it's so important that we have done all that we have done in the past years to improve our employee practices here at the club. And with Brian's help and all that he's done in getting these policies and procedures in place, getting an HR group to work with us to help out, has really shored things up, and we've dodged a lot of bullets. And so we're on the right track. The other thing is, because of what's been done here, that's why we did not have any premium increase. That's what the broker told us, is that the application that we sent in to the carriers based on what's been done here at the club and the policies we have in place has helped us keep at the same level. I am going to read something because along on this management liability practices policy are prior claims. And they have done something different than they have in the past. And a lot of that has to do with where this whole line of coverage is going, because they're expecting a large increase in these claims over the next year as a result of this virus. So they have included on here under our exclusions, which I'm required to read, is specific circumstances exclusions, which means that our prior employment practices claims cannot, if someone brings back a prior claim and wants to do something with that prior claim, this policy will not respond to it, either in defense or in cause. So the 2012 claim brought by David Drury, the 2012 claim brought by Brenda Essenacher, and the 2016 claim brought by John Hickman will have no future coverage should any of that be resurfaced and submitted to our carrier. Crime portion, no, that's not a problem. Cyber liability. Again, as a result of all of the working from home that employees are doing, the instance of cybercrime and things of that nature is on the increase. So next year you can expect an increase of 25 to 30% in the premium dollars. But this year, what we have, like $1 increase?
$1 increase.
$1 increase in the premium because of what he's done. Yeah.
Just clarification, when you say this year, are we talking about 2020 or 2021?
Okay.
6/30.
July 1.
Yeah, July 1, 2021.
Yeah.
The insurance policies don't follow.
We're right in the middle of the year.
Middle of the year.
It ends on
This
6/30.
July through next July.
July 1, 20 through 6/30/21.
Yeah.
Okay, so like on this one where we got a flat rate,
We're
that
good.
will cover us through 6 of 21.
Yes, it will. We're
And
good.
then the other three, when are those renewing?
All of these are July 1st to July 1st
Okay, so
that I'm
the,
talking about now.
so DNO, the PLI air and emissions, those increases going into 2020 are
21.
flat- 2021
Right.
are flat. But we'll see the big hit coming
the 21-22 period.
Okay.
We're good through 2021.
through June of
Through
2021.
June, so when you budget, you'll have to budget for that last half of the year.
Yeah.
6 months. Okay. We total up this,
There's a sum page on the.
there's a page here that, here we go, I'll read this out to you. Okay, so the premium summary for what I discussed, the management liability package, and that again included the D&O and the EPLI. Our new premium is $22,326. Our expiring premium was the same, so it didn't go up $1. The crime policy, the new premium is $2,353. The expiring was $2,324, so it went up like $30. Our storage tank liability policy, the one for the new tank that we're putting out there in the yard, our new premium is $488. Our old was $391. That's actually amazing because they give us $1 million coverage on that if that tank leaked and caused the water to be contaminated or the groundwater to be contaminated. They spend $1 million to clean that up for a total of $488.
Brand new, they give us a break though. I mean, you get a brand new car, you don't pay extra for the.
That's exactly what he said. That was funny. Our cyber liability went up $1. The current new premium is $2,848. The old premium was $2,847.
And that's state mandated, so that's not a wish by the association. You have to have cyber security, cyber policy.
So, I think I'd like to, I can repeat these numbers again if you wish, but otherwise I can make the motion that we accept this management practices liability policy and D&O policy for the premiums stated, and if I can get a second, we can go on.
Second.
Any discussion needed? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we're down to announcements by our secretary.
And the one announcement I would like to make to reiterate what Mike Dool said, we are looking for volunteers for our committees. You can get a application in the member relations office, and we need lots of volunteers, close to 100, to run our committee. So please get your application in soon.
I had a question on that. I've seen some emails about July committee meetings. What was going to be the stance for July committee meetings from Zoom?
Well, I think I've only heard from member communications, and they are going to have a meeting here because there's only going to be 5 people. But I haven't heard from anybody else, but I'll check.
Okay.
Neighborhood Watch will not have
No.
meetings. Long range planning will not have meetings.
It'll be the same as June.
Okay.
I mean, the finance will probably meet on Zoom.
Okay.
Finance will be a Zoom meeting in July. July will be a Zoom meeting for the finance committee.
And the green, will you do the green
And the
committee?
Green Committee will be a Zoom meeting as well.
Okay.
Finance is July 15th.
Okay, and I just would like to say, Trish, on your, as far as the committee process, I encourage everyone to sign up because we are a self-managed club, and we do this really pretty well. And so we need good volunteers to serve in these committees, and so please send in your applications. Food and beverage happenings,
And Brian addressed that in
Okay.
his report
no ladies' luncheon.
in July.
All right.
The lien delinquent list, there were 14 properties. They're listed on the agenda. I can go through each one, or we can do it.
Just make a motion to accept
All
the lien
right, I
delinquent
move
list.
that we accept the lien delinquent list for 14 properties. It will be listed in the minutes if anybody is interested in the property numbers. And I would like a second.
I'll second
Any discussion necessary? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries. Wow. Okay, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Is there anything else that anyone has that we should bring up? If not, we'll adjourn this meeting and go into executive. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mission Lakes, for sticking with us here through this session.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll finish this process up. So how many did you say were able to attend our live stream that you count?
I think it was.
Good morning, Ms. Julianne.
Ms. Julie,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I made a copy of that, so this can go in the ballot box. All of these items should be held.
Yeah,
Anybody
well,
wants to- Yeah.
put
Everything.
that in there.
Yep.
Lock it back
Lock
up.
it up.
Well,
Hey, thank you
I'm
so
taking my lock
much.
home. All right, you guys, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, to our board of directors and to our members of Mission Lakes out there watching this live feed, we have the tally sheet and the count for our bylaw governing document election. The total no votes were 108, and the total yes votes were 346. Our measure passes. We had a total of 454 ballots cast on this election. And so I'd just like to again thank Juliana Dawson from her election committee for doing all this, because it's a arduous process to go through this correctly. And she did that for us. And I think also like to thank you guys, because we went through a lot in getting this ballot measure done, getting those governing documents worked on for months and months on end. So I'm very happy with that. Now we can move our club along. So I think with that, unless there's any other comments you'd like to make, we can adjourn this meeting. Great. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
You can hit the off button.